Welcome to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast, the place where leaders come to learn how to create a workplace where people would be crazy to leave. Join your hosts, Holly Potts and Tony McConnell, as they serve up stories, strategies, and real talk that you can actually use today. Let's get into it.
The Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast, the place where we talk with leaders about how to create a workplace that somebody would be crazy to leave. Crazy to leave. That's what we're aiming for. I've got the Colonel, Tony McConnell, with me as always.
Hey, Holly, how you doing?
Good.
We got Dr. Colby Jubenville from Middle Tennessee State University, a recent winner of the inaugural Champions Awards from our good friend Coach Jimmy Bourdain of the men's tennis team. 9-time conference champions, and just all around great dude. All around, he's about to ride a fainter. All around great dude. Colby's going to be here to talk to us a little bit about building resilient teams. It's something he's very good at and what you do. And Colby, I know I didn't do you justice with the introduction. If there's anything else you'd like to talk about.
Well, I'm partly crazy, so I probably will fit in with being part of a place you would never be crazy to leave. But came to MTSU in Murfreesboro 25 years ago thinking I'd stay for a year and never left. And I think it's these types of relationships are part of the reason, a large part of the reason of why I stay. Yes. And so I certainly appreciate my relationship with Dal Smith. I've watched from afar as Dal and the companies continue to grow and do good things and makes massive investment in the community and people like Jimmy. And I know Jimmy appreciates his relationship. I was thrilled to get that award because I just believe in what Jimmy's doing. Mm-hmm. And he's not chasing championships. He's making investment in people. Mm-hmm. And I think Dal's doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so love spending time with y'all. I have a great relationship with you guys. Now I find out that you're rock stars too. So put the pressure on me. I can play GDC at E minor. So
okay, we can find a song for you.
That's pretty much everything we play. If you got a capo, you can.
I do want to see the links on that. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to talking to you today about resiliency and about teams and the challenges that we face that are so different than even in my mind 5 years ago.
Yes. And by the way, this is our second iteration of a group of 3 podcasts where we're going to talk about resiliency and the importance of resiliency. First one was Greg Pease, and we talked about building resilient leaders and individuals. Yeah. And then today we're talking about teams, building the teams, and then we're going to finish it up in a week or so with Holly and I are going to talk about how to translate and combine those two to make irresistible workplaces and resilient organizations. And that's also going to be the same format that we use going into our July 14th Resiliency in Hard Times for Leaders in Organizations event.
Well, we're in some different times for sure.
Yes.
I was on the phone this morning at 5:30 with a friend and a client of mine that's left to go back to our hometown of Mobile and trying to reinvent himself. And I think if I was going to, I said this is appropriate for my time together with you guys today, but if I was going to define resiliency, it's how you respond to setbacks.
I was actually going to ask, that was going to be my first question. Would you define resilience for us? So say a little more about it.
I think it's how you respond to setbacks. We all know that, number one, our personal lives are full of setbacks and we don't expect them. And I think it's sort of comical that we don't expect them because we all have seen it as children. We experience it as children and we think that for some miraculous reason, it will not happen to us, but it does. But then when you go and choose to start a business, that's when a whole different type of setback will happen to you. Mm-hmm. And so I think today, part of our discussion is, that I think would be valuable for the audience is, how do you learn how to respond to setbacks? Because our confidence is under attack every single day. Mm-hmm. And how do we teach people to develop that mindset to protect that confidence that is under attack from external forces and the things that we start telling ourselves every single day? The 3 brain abilities are the first brain ability is I can do it. And the second brain ability is I can't do it. And then the third brain ability is transform. I will do it. And so I think that's where it starts, is first getting leaders to say that setbacks and how we respond is what true resiliency is about. And then understanding the brain and how it works and saying, the first thing you say is, I can do this, then I don't think I'm going to start pulling back on this. And then at some point, you either choose to transform or you don't.
Yes.
I think, I think using, in the context of that is if you're building an organization and a team as a leader and you're personally starting to be pretty good and resilient, your goal in life should be to build those teams and those processes in your organization that make you go to, all right, I'm going to do it. I can do this. Instead of turning around or backing off.
And it starts from the very first day. Clear expectations, resources to achieve those expectations, how you develop your people. Those things need to be put first things first as part of the process, because you know that at some point the setbacks are going to come. And so the more you can get clear about the expectations, the more you can say, these are the things that I want you to achieve. Here's what needs to happen over the next 60 days for this company to be successful. And then what do you need from me to get to that level so that you can be successful? And then this is the way we're going to grow and develop you throughout that process. I think is a real easy way, not easy way, but clear and simple way to start that process of how do we create resilient teams.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, Holly, we've talked about before when we talk about trust is, one of the first questions that people probably ask themselves, or you should ask yourself if you're a leader or you're a new person going into an organization is, am I safe here?
Yeah.
And I think, you pick up pretty fast if a team or an organization isn't a safe place to be. Because if they're not a safe place to be, they are definitely not going to be a resilient place.
Yeah.
Because when the crap hits the fan, it's going to fall to pieces.
Yeah.
People are going to be overworked already. You don't want people overworked and balance being way off before there's issues.
Yeah.
You just can't sustain this.
My mind goes in a million places. I think about culture of performance versus a culture of politics. I think about the foundation of trust is safety. And safety in business is, am I known? Am I heard? Am I valued? Am I important? Does my opinion matter? I have real strong feelings about the role of leaders in building teams. I think every issue is a leadership issue.
That's exactly right.
I think good leaders make good followers. I think good leaders go first. I think that teams take on the personality of the leader. And I think that you have to model the behavior if you want those people to get in the boat with you.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
All your words got to be speaking the same language. All your actions got to be speaking the same language.
And I think that starts with a container. And the container of trust, I think there's 4 pieces to it. The first piece to the container is, does the team believe that the leader has good intentions for them? If they believe the leader does not have good intentions, they will not follow the leader. And then number 2, all of this has to do with resiliency. The number 2 is, do they believe that the leader is competent? If I don't believe you're competent at your job, I'll tell you, I'll trust you, but I'm not going to trust you. And where resilience steps in, and we're talking about hitting the fan, is agreements have to be made. And then once agreements are made, then swift action has to be taken. What's going to happen when we get to this place and we start to feel that pressure? We start to feel that conflict. Going back to my friend back down in my hometown, he didn't get the clear expectations. In fact, the lines that the business owner used was, well, we'll just figure it out once we get there. That's I played that game. It's a dangerous game to play. You can play it. But
you don't have to.
You don't. It just takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of resilience, and it takes a lot of getting beat up.
Yes.
Tired too.
Yes.
I can still remember when I first started doing consulting and doing coaching and being a trusted advisor. I thought that if I made longer proposals, that I would get bigger deals. I thought if I stretched out the sales process, I didn't really know who my ideal customer was. I mean, the list goes on, and the setbacks that I took along the way. I wrote an article for Forbes where I said that I called it the tax on vision, that what you will find in trying to start a business and trying to launch that business is that the people that say they care about you the most typically will be the people that tell you can't do it because they don't understand the risk.
Yeah.
They want the safety and security.
Yes. Okay, fear. I want to talk about that for a minute because you talked about confidence. And I think the biggest, if it comes down to the leader and what they're modeling and all those things they need to do, fear is the thing that gets in the way. So what are you to do with that as a leader when it's hard times or setback comes and fear creeps in? What are you to do with that?
Yeah, so I've had this question. And so my first response to that is when we start to feel as a team that we're not going to get to where we set out to get to, and we can feel the setbacks and we can feel the conflict and the friction and the pressure, it's to get the whole team together and have an agreed upon reality. This is what's really going on here.
It's really good.
Okay, so what are the things that we can do right now once you get what's called an agreed upon reality so that we can move to, and this is the second piece to that meeting where you bring people in, is the agreed upon future. Where is it that we're really trying to get to? Let's get really clear about that. Let's identify the friction points, and then let's wake up every day and address those friction points and get feedback about it day after day after day to build the engine to get to where we want to go and fight through that fear.
Mm-hmm. So don't do it alone is one thing I heard. Like don't like I'm feeling fearful. I'm just gonna close up and not.
That's the tendency.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just gonna work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all know that it's, it's like the big lie of college. If I go to college, I'm going to get a job and everything's going to be okay. We all know it ain't going to be okay. The only way it's going to be okay is if you wake up and say, these are the action steps I'm going to take to make it okay. So yes, definitely don't just go in and shut your office and hope that it works out.
It's kind of like I said.
I've tried that too.
Yeah.
Like I said Tuesday, that statement I had heard, and it's courage. Definition of courage is something's going to hurt, but you do it anyway. Yeah. Well, the definition of stupidity is the exact same thing. That's why life is hard.
Same.
And courage too, to me is, and I think this speaks to the whole idea of fear and setback, is courage is to show up and be seen for who you really are. Mm-hmm. And that's the Latin root word is of courage. And so if you can show up, and let's just say that you're a small business and that you're a husband and wife team, and you can show up and you say, we continue to make investments in this team, and we don't feel like the team appreciates that, and here's why. The more that you can say that and show up and be seen for that, the more that I laugh when I hear people say silly things like the employee should work like the business owner. They're not going to work like the business owner. They haven't taken the risk. They don't even understand what that is to take that risk. But you got to be clear about what role you want them to play. You got to let them know you have good intentions for them. They got to believe that you're competent. You got to get agreements in place, and then swift action when they don't do what they said they were going to do and what you agreed together has to be taken. That's how you eliminate the fear. But to say silly things like they should take on and take the risk like a business owner does, I think it's really aspirational, and I think it's a great soundbite. But
I've heard it quite a few times. I've heard it quite a few times. Yeah.
I think it's a great soundbite, but I just don't think it works. Get clear expectations, resources to achieve it. Tell them how you can develop them. Mm-hmm. People want to be grown and developed. Mm-hmm. People want to make sense of their own lives. Mm-hmm. These are the ways that we get to a place. My whole life is nothing but a series of setbacks, both personally and professionally. And Jim Rohn says it best, it's not what happens that determines your life future, it's what you do about what happens. Mm-hmm. And it's correcting the errors of your past and setting new disciplines for your future. That's how you do it.
Somebody told me once, if you were to take, a poster board and you graphed your life and you said high point, low point, and it looked like this, that years later you could probably take the thing and flip it over and say, actually, the thing I felt that was the low point is what grew me the most or whatever. And so, it's like, I think of resiliency. The thing that grows a person and grows a team doesn't feel good sometimes. It doesn't feel like the thing that's going to stretch you the most. So you talked about people development. I'm real passionate about that.
I know.
So when it comes to teams in a business, how does having people in the right seat, working in their gifts, working in their strengths, help your team be more resilient?
Yeah. The more that you can get people into a place of what Sullivan calls their unique ability, where what they do gives them energy.
Yes.
It gives other people energy, it creates new levels of challenge and new levels of opportunity. They'll look at that friction as a challenge and an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So the more we can get people to that place, but the tendency is to not do that because it requires more work.
Yes.
It requires more energy. It requires more effort. But if you can, I've been through this scenario this year. We're beating our head against the wall about this one employee. And I said, let's do this. Instead of continuing, I call it the dance. So we talked about,
We've all done the
I'm laughing already because I'm anticipating this.
yes, here's the agreed upon reality, here's agreed upon future. In the middle is tension.
Yes.
That's the culture. That's the conflict. That's where you build the resilience. And that tension is either built through dance or culture, dance and dysfunction or culture.
Mm.
And so purposely building culture starts with what roles do people want to play and how do we put them in a place where what they do gives them energy. So we tried to get this one employee to change over and over and over again. And I went back to the owner and I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we change the model? Let's change the business model. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned in resiliency and growth and development and teams is you got to have a model and you got to stay true to the model. And so part of what we did in 2026 that was different than 2025 is let's build a new model that changes the way we look at business development and growth. And let's go after clients that we wouldn't have gone after in the past and just continue to do the dance with that same employee. And we changed the model and the model's working and the employee's not frustrated because he's not having the success that the model's having, but we modeled the behavior to him and now he's starting to change the way he's behaving.
Oh, that's good because my question I had was how do you, because I've talked unique ability kind of stuff with a lot of people, worked through that process with a lot of people. Some people simply do not see the need for it. It feels like extra. It's like, why am I having to do all of this instead of just, well, do you want to plug away and be miserable?
Right,
you know,
right.
I mean, how do you sell it? It looks like modeling is the way this guy, you know, okay, I'm seeing somebody do something that didn't seem important to me now, but I'm seeing the success. Maybe I need to,
That,
you know.
It was a byproduct of what I thought could happen, but I call it dots and bridges through all of the adversity and all of the challenges that I've been through and becoming resilient myself. In fact, I got 3 different texts on the way in here that 10 years ago, I wouldn't be able to do this podcast, but I wrote back and I said to all 3, sounds good. And that's where I'm leaving it right there. I'm not going to let you creep into this. I got to make sure I deliver the mail here. But study after study shows that is that the more people, the higher level that people perform, the greater feedback that they get, the more that they want to do it, then the more that they can go and try to achieve the next level. It's called enjoyment performance theory. Well, the same thing is true about the opposite. If you're bad at something, they'll tell you you're bad at it. You'll find a way to do less of it. And the name of the book is called I Quit, But I Forgot to Tell Anybody. So what you just described is what people typically do and fall out of engagement and work because they don't take the time to say, this is what I enjoy. This gives me new levels of challenge. This gives me new levels of opportunity. I get feedback that say I can do these things and do it even better. I want to spend my time doing this.
Well, Colby, we're at that age where as we were coming up,
we're at that age where we're wondering how much more time we got left.
We're at that age where we're like, I'm glad I don't have to worry about this too much. Like, we're at that age where when we were younger, it was almost expected that if you were in an organization, a hierarchical organization, you know, like I was with the Army, at some point you're going to be singled out as needing to go, because I was a really good planner. I wasn't very good logistician. I can do it, but I don't like to. You know, my big fear was that one of these days they're going to move me over into logistics just because they think I need to be broad And you know, and there's so many organizations back in the day. And I remember my dad worked at Genesco back, you know, from the 60s till he retired in the early 2000s. And he had a lot of different opportunities to do things. But he would talk about people getting moved into jobs that they did not want, they were not good at, and most of the time they failed at them.
Yeah.
And that doesn't do anything but hurt the employee, cost money, hurt the organization, and probably hurt an employee that we don't even know who would have been good there, excelled there, and loved it.
And hurt the customer.
Yeah, and hurt the customer. So that I think that those things aren't as prevalent as they used to be, but it still happens. You'll see, well, let's make them a leader. Let's make them a manager and help them grow. Well, maybe that person don't want to be a manager. If somebody ever tells you they don't want to be a manager, believe them. like I'm not leadership material. You should go, yeah, maybe you're not.
Yeah.
We'll just get in there and let's do it.
And that's okay. The thing, if I could distill leaders and managers down to three things, here's what I'd say. They get paid to do three things: solve problems, make decision, and package up information in a way that people can get it.
Yep.
So good.
Then if you espouse that and you give that to the audience and you say, so tell me how you solve problems in your current role, and tell me about any framework that you've been given that helps you solve problems or make decisions or package up information in your 12 years, 15 years, 20 years of education. And they can't tell you. And so what is the default that we go to in solving problems and making decisions and packaging up information? In my mind, the default is emotion. And so back to your roller coaster. So we're now on the roller coaster and we're going up and down and we're riding the highs and we're riding the lows, which again is not good for the customer. It's not good for the employee, and it's not good long-term for the organization either. So I think all of that ties back into resiliency and building teams and building resilient teams.
So consistency is what I'm hearing there, like some sense of that we don't just knee-jerk reaction when there's a setback or times go hard, but we have some kind of system in place where we can stay consistent.
Yeah. Well, the problems are always in two places: the people and the process.
Yes.
And so if we can say this is what we want our people to be in terms of growth and development, and then let's be really clear about building processes that are simple and clean and are repeatable, then I think the closer we can get to the problems are going to come. They do every day. I think about John Floyd and my good friend in Old South and the success that they've had. The reason that he was able to make that shift and have that growth in the 80s and the 90s and 2000s is because he understood, I have to build a process that is 100% repeatable. And then I've got to build people in such a way that they'll stay here and stay here long term. And so I think he's maybe had one or two employees in the time the company's been around, and they all come in there knowing that the thing that they're going to have to learn to stay there is they're going to have to learn the process, and they're going to have to follow the process every single time.
The process, provides clarity, which is one of the big things to building a resilient team is clarity in what's going on. If it's bad and the crap's hit the fan, tell them it's hit the fan. Be honest with them, be open with them, but you can't start being open with them when it's hitting the fan or after it's hit the fan. You got to practice that. That has to be a way of a business principle, and the start is transparency. It can't be transparency when you're about to tell everybody we're about to have to shut down.
Well,
because it's just not going to be that way.
Safety, trust, open and honest, transparency. That's the evolution that you move through to get to that place. But all of that starts with that idea that you talked about. First, people have to say to themselves, this is a place where I can come in and be vulnerable and tell the truth and say, this is what's going on here, and this is what I really want from work. What leaders should be saying is, what are the needs and desires that the team is not getting that I could give them as part of their work here? Going back to that same company that I work with, he's got employees that have been there that want to finish college degrees, and he pays on top of their salary, on top of all the other benefits, he pays for their college degree, meeting the needs and the desires of the team, to build better engagement and to show them that even when the chips are down, I want you to bring your best self to work and deliver the mail for us.
What keeps what keeps a leader from doing that? Like, what keeps them from taking that risk, investing a little more to develop the people who are their team?
I call it being enlightened. I mean, I think that you have to decide that you want to, the business is more than just creating a profit, that it's a vehicle that if it's built in the way that it could be and should be built, can transform people's lives. And that's a long-term commitment. And it requires going through a lot of setbacks to get there. And so I think it's those things that inherently keep people from not making that risk and saying this is worth the investment. When you ask me that, here's where my mind goes. If we see the advantages of the incredible tax advantages of an ESOP, and we understand what engagement happens with an ESOP, why would every company not be an ESOP? And in fact, I believe Dow just
became an ESOP.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to
40
see
days ago.
a before and after of what employees' perceptions are of their work, their engagement level, how they see the path and their plan for their life now that the company is an ESOP.
Yes.
I think if I could come back and reinvent myself in a new way, it would be someone that just goes around and help companies that are really, really successful in what Joe Calloway calls Category 1 companies, turn them into ESOPs. That would be really, really fun. I've watched videos where employees were at a manufacturing company for 30 years and each got a check for $1 million.
Yeah.
And rewarded for going through the conflict and showing up for work every day.
And then can they think like an owner then? You know what I mean?
They truly are.
They truly are. When you said that earlier, I thought, man, that's been a lot of the shift. I think for Dow Smith is like, there's always been a longing for everybody on our team to think that way.
Yeah.
But when you were saying that, I thought, it kind of feels like a pipe dream. Until
you're an ESOP.
Like now we're an ESOP, and so you
truly are.
We truly are,
and you have a piece of paper that says it.
That says it.
A dividend check that shows it.
Right, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take a little bit of time, a good lot of time, for people to understand like what that really means. It's hard to see the end goal when you're like, what even is this? You know, so a lot of teaching has to happen.
I know Dow Smith just did. John Floyd in Old South just moved into being an ESOP. I've got a good friend of mine that they actually have and he's a business partner of mine, Jeremy Howell. They have a location here in it's called Inline Electric, and they're 800 plus employees, and they're an ESOP.
One of the biggest ones in the country is Publix.
Publix, yeah.
There's about 100 in Tennessee. 100 ESOPs in Tennessee.
And customers, shoppers say that it's a pleasure to shop there, so let's do something.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm having a bad day, I don't go to Walmart. I don't go to the Kroger on Broad. Although I love the sales, I go to Publix so I can calm down a little bit.
Yes, that's good. That's good.
I deal with some of that adversity, some of that setback, some of the resiliency comes from my time.
Have a bad beer ale.
Hey, you know what though? That goes back to culture and resilience, because when I'm feeling like just on a personal level, like a lower, like I'm coming in low, I want to go to work. That's where I want to be, because the relationships, the people, the culture, I mean, what you just said is really true. How many people could actually say they feel like that about the place that they work? And if it's truly resilient, it can make you feel resilient when you show up to it, you know?
And where does that all start? It starts with relationships.
Yep.
And what Brene Brown says is that we fall out of that meaning, that we're all so desperate. The most basic need of people is to connect and feel connected. And that we find that meaning, and then we get that meaning for a little while, and then we fall out of it, and then we go back to our bad behaviors, and then we come back to it, and we find that meaning again, and the cycle starts over.
Yes.
And I think that's like when you say that, where I'm not feeling it, or I'm having a bad day, or I feel disconnected.
Yes.
You know, I think that happens to all of us.
Yeah. So a little plug right here, Tony, would be like a peer group, say an IWI table. when you've got several owners, I mean, talk about why resiliency came up as a topic for us. What we were hearing.
We had our first table, our build the airplane and flight table. That's really helped us develop what we got, and they've been with us, almost 18 months now, and it's really, and they're still really highly engaged. And there were some, business owners who were starting to get concerned about, the economy and the way things were going, and they did. They said that they were glad to be able to come in there and vent that to somebody because, when you're at the top, you can't really vent that down because people pick up on that really fast. Yeah. Having someone, equivalent to talk to.
Somebody who's taken that risk, like he was saying, like these are other leaders. And that's kind of our hope in getting this bunch together is to say, man, the wealth of encouragement and work toward resilience, you can't go off and do it alone.
Well, and also, I mean, let's paint the whole picture here too. Is part of resilience is when sales are up, everything's better. And I know that through those IWI relationships, that several of those relationships have turned into meaningful, productive business relationships that have led to bigger opportunities for both companies. And so I think that's another piece to that as well.
Yes.
And certainly makes the setbacks a little bit more tolerable along the way.
And one of the things Dow's always talked about when we first started talking about this thing, when we didn't even have an idea what we were going to call it, much less what it was going to look like. Dow said, I want to make sure that it's good for everyone, our competitors. He said, because a rising tide raises all the ships. And so that's, that to me is one of the best things. Well, one thing about resiliency that, you can say it and you can think you're resilient and all that, but when it really gets hard, unless being a resilient person is a way of life and being a resilient team is a way of your everyday functions, you can go way back to where you were. Most people go, they pull into themselves and they pull back to what they've done for the first 40 years of their life or the first 30 years of their life. So it has to be, it has to be,
gotta be some stretch.
It has to be because when stuff goes wrong and stuff gets bad, is not the time to decide you want to become resilient. Or you want to make your team resilient.
Yes.
My son Jack just moved to West Palm. He called me one day and he said, I made this decision. You told me from a young age to decide what I want from life and go out and figure it out and make it happen. And he's in a new place, in a new company, total commission. And it's not cheap to live in West Palm. And he said, Dad, I think I got the name of my first book. And I said, what is it? And he said, everybody starts as a walk-on. And Jack was a walk-on at MTSU. But he said the one thing that I learned from one of my coaches was the long-term power of just continuing to keep moving forward. And that if you'll just continue. Now, I learned it differently than he learned it. I learned from Tommy Radiger at Millsaps, who called me Corey when my name is Colby for 4 years to try to break me.
Oh, man.
He taught us how to use adversity to accelerate growth. So it's a little bit, Jack sees the world differently than I do, and that's okay. But I love that he said the title of my book is Everybody Starts as a Walk-On, and that the idea is focused around the long-term opportunity to beat other people out is to just keep moving forward. I struggle with some of that sometimes when I think about, he said that to me and I woke up the next day about 3:30 and I'm sitting there in my kitchen and I drink this coffee it's got paper pods versus plastic. So it smells like that old school coffee and I love that. But then it takes me back to being a kid and I'm saying to myself, when my dad drank coffee, I'm saying to myself, did I make the right decisions here? Is this whole thing about performing? That's all this kid is thinking about. And so I said, well, man, just make sure, I called him that day and said, make sure you enjoy part of this too. And he said, don't worry, I am. And I said, I appreciate it. But it's an interesting journey. And throughout that whole journey, certainly setbacks and learning how to be resilient. And so if you ask me why I wanted Jack to play college basketball more than anything, is I don't care about the wins and losses. I'm sure that a lot of people do, and good for them. But what I care about is, what did you learn from the game, And can you keep moving forward, and can you learn how to use adversity to accelerate growth?
Yes.
All right, man. We unpacked a lot. I didn't have to breathe for a second.
I know.
Now we got like 45 short form videos.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
The DSC, Dow Smith channel.
I failed to mention that Colby has a TEDx talk.
Yep.
It's awesome, and it's what his son Jack and Darius Rucker told him.
About
I
reinvention.
bet you didn't think I'd remember that.
Yeah.
Y'all should check it out because it's very good. I got to see it live and
That was fun. Shannon
was
Wheeler did a
slightly
great
moved
job.
by it, and Shannon did a great job. And hopefully Shannon will be at our in our event. He's been to a couple of our events.
Yeah.
And
I got the first champ award from Jimmy at MTSU, and for the rest of my life, I'll be the first TED Talk speaker as I tripped over the word speaker in Murfreesboro.
for the TEDx.
I'm excited about that.
Yes.
And that was a shout out to everybody involved in that.
Oh,
That
it's a
is
great job.
that was a room I was glad to be in. You know, you've always, when you open the door, you go in a room sometime and you go, this is a good room to be in. And I love that. And
Yeah.
Colby, I love it. Love what you do every day with, and I know some of your clients and some of our clients.
Yes,
and,
sir.
And you've helped them a lot along the way, and you've, sent them our way some, and we've sent you some, and we can't wait until the 14th
It's gonna be fun.
to pick up what you're laying down and all grow, because I think I learn more most days than the people that are around the table
Yeah.
do.
Well, that's why it's still fun, and I love to meet people that are willing to tell the truth about where they are in the struggle and where they are in the fight and what they're trying to do to get to the other side of it. And I think that is the greatest opportunity we have, is to get up and to try a different way and to learn every day and to count on other people. I was with Coach Burt up at his Greatness Factory, and he asked me, what out of all the stuff that I do, what is it that really gets me to wake up and want to do this every day? And there's this guy named Jim Hensel, and he wrote a book called Grind Your Bee, The Quest for Purpose. And there's a quote in there. He came and saw me, and I said, read me the whole book. So he goes through the whole thing. And there's this, I read books. I've said this before. I read books till I find one sentence, and that's it.
That's your moment.
That's it. I'm not going any further. But in the book, it says, in your greatest hour, your darkest moment, will you be enough? Can you count on yourself, and can others count on you? If you had to stand in front of the world and define yourself, what would you say? And I think that resilience and struggle and bounce back and using adversity and staying in it for the long game are the opportunities that we can learn about and define ourselves in the way that we want to share with the world. Awesome. That's what's fun for me.
Yes.
We're stopping right now. There's
Yep.
no way we can do any better. Y'all have a great day. Thanks, Colby.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Doggone.
Thank you for listening to the Irresistible Workplace Initiative podcast. Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We will see you on the next one.